Welcome to On the Chain.
James Filan, and James Filan's taking a little bit of break, which you'll get into that in a little bit. But we have here breaking: Judge Torres overrules this. Now this came out. This was a while ago. Okay, this. I think this came out on the 29th. Yeah, September 29th. But this was when Judge Torres overruled the SEC's objections and orders the SEC to turn over Hinman docs. But then I saw a very recent tweet. I think it was yesterday. Could have been the day before. And this was Jeremy Hogan. And Jeremy Hogan said, a brief update on the Ripple v. SEC case. I see some confusion, therefore I tweet. And that's a direct quote from Jeremy Hogan. He says, on September 29, Judge Torres did overrule the SEC's objections to turning over those Hinman emails, but did not say whether they must be turned over. Therefore, he says, the deadline becomes when an appeal of the judge ruling is due. The court is lenient like this because once the documents are handed over, it cannot be undone. So that deadline is basically 60 days, maybe longer, if they move for reconsideration, which Jeremy Hogan says, I doubt that they will do. Your thoughts on that, Jeff? That's a little bit. 6 times, and now they're going to play this waiting game, this delay game again.
See, it's problematic on so many levels, but it's anticipated and expected from anybody within this current administration. Just the way things are done, I expect it. They have complete animosity to the people they're supposed to represent, the people they're supposed to protect. The SEC has shown itself to be antagonistic to retail investors. They're not there to support the retail investor, and they're going about this strictly to fight their own case and to hold things up. For whatever reason, they're going to continue delaying. They're the ones who brought this case. So if they brought this case, Chip, they should have been prepared for all aspects of the case. They should have known that, when they went into this, that, hey, by the way, there's all this information out there. Why? Because it's in the public. Everybody knows it's out there. We know that Hinman gave these. We know all of these things. Maybe we need to prepare ourselves. So instead of preparing themselves on it, they just kind of let the cards unfold, in a careless manner, which is actually good. And the reason why, and my opinion, Chip, I'm sure you might share the sentiment, and it's coming from all these different brilliant legal minds that we've looked at, is that they didn't have a case to begin with. They've been fighting a case that they don't actually have. They're attacking Ripple. And right from the get-go, as Garlinghouse had mentioned 2 years ago, he said, this isn't about Ripple. It's not about XRP. It's about the crypto space at large. So this antagonistic approach by the SEC to the crypto space at large is in part a pissing match, with internal organization to see who's going to dominate and control crypto. It's in part their animosity to crypto in general. Maybe helping to support the Fed, helping to, defend the sovereign fiat currency on a more global scale, and, in part political, and then in part, delays as they try to pick winners from losers. And that's, the government seems to be on point with that continuously, where the government believes that it's their role to pick winners and losers. And that's not their role. The market's role is picking winners and losers. But as we've seen, and I'm sure it happened way, before in the past, but, from 2008, 2010, we started to see the pickers of winners and losers with big corporates, insurance companies, banks, deciding on who's too big to fail. We saw that before that, even in the years leading up to 2008. We saw the banks, we saw insurance companies, we saw automotive companies, and why would crypto and banks once again be any different, as they're trying to defend their cronies and decide and dictate the direction that our financial situation is moving in. And it's super problematic. It really is, Chip.
That's well said, man. Very, extremely well said there. Let's go to this here. So he does have a couple more points here. So Hogan goes on to say that if the SEC appeals the ruling, it will take a long time to figure out. Months is what he puts there. So I personally don't think the SEC will appeal because it risks adverse binding case authority by doing so. Bad facts equal bad law, and these are bad facts. But others have different opinions on that. But keep in mind, what is in those emails is not relevant to the Section 5 violation, whether or not XRP is a security. It's probably only really relevant to the fair notice defense. And also remember that not only the SEC moved for summary judgment on the fair notice defense, Ripple did not. So therefore, I believe that Ripple will object to a ruling on the fair notice defense issue because discovery is not complete. It wins that objection. So even if the SEC appeals the email order, the Section 5 violation issue will continue forward and be fully briefed by November 15th. No matter what happens in the Hinman email issue, no matter the delay, the main issue will move forward to judgment. If Ripple wins on the Section 5 violation, the FND becomes moot, which is the fair notice defense. If Ripple loses on Section 5, it can still move for summary judgment on the fair notice defense. Hope that helps. So there you have that from Mr. Jeremy Hogan, and I appreciate that commentary a lot, man. I think it's pretty good. John Deaton weighs in on Jeremy Hogan's tweets that we just talked about. He says, as I've said, XRP holders never want to see Judge Torres rule on the fair notice defense. If she does, it's because she decided XRP is or was a security. That's that Section 5 violation. For Ripple, the fair notice defense is akin to being an insurance policy. It only comes into play if Ripple loses on the security issue. So that's well said. Packed a lot into that. Yeah, that's what that is. And we just want
more commentary below that as well.
Was there? Let's see. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. So most likely now it won't happen, but there is a scenario where the SEC wins, but Ripple doesn't have to pay much. The judge could say that XRP was and is a security, but Ripple didn't get fair notice, so it doesn't have to pay. XRP holders get screwed. I don't think that's going to happen, but that fear is one reason that I sued the SEC.
Strong.
And there it is right there. Jeremy Hogan says insurance policy, perfect descriptor.
Man, yeah, I tell you what, it's amazing that, whenever there's something bad that happens, people look and hyper focus on the bad event. But many times from that bad event, amazing, great things happen. And we always have to focus on what can happen as a direct result. We've seen it, throughout history. There's events that can happen, globally, kind of like a SEC v. Ripple court case that is impacted, tens of thousands, if not, I don't know how many XRP holders out there. Let's call them hundreds of thousands. I don't know what the number is, but it's impacted people all over the world. Then there's events that can happen to an individual. Someone can be, horribly injured in an accident, but then maybe something amazing comes out of that, even though they had to suffer through something, but on the back end, they rose to the occasion and something great happened that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So there's all these types of events. And I'm looking at, one of the great things that has come out of this SEC v. Ripple case. We have complete visibility into the inner workings and irrational inner workings of the SEC. And people see that on a global scale, I think is really important. And on the other side of it are people that have risen to the occasion, like John Deaton, right, in defense of all of these people around the world. And it's brought together people in the crypto space at large, within the XRP community. It's tightened a bond for people that is pretty amazing. And at the end of the day, when we look back on this a couple of years from now, we're going to say, without that case, a lot of these things might not have happened. All these things might not have been brought to light. We've had to go through 2 years of turmoil. Even if we think, Chip, 2020 to 2022, how devastating it has been for our economic well-being in this country, not to mention any political persuasion one way or the other. But now, as we go through it, think about how much visibility people now have into the inner workings and, again, the inefficiencies of politicians, of the way government is, all these negative things that have happened. And here we are sitting on a doorstep here of another election in the U.S., and we're going to see how great things will be as we move forward into the next couple of years and beyond. And I think we have a lot of good things that are coming out of it. We've unfortunately had to suffer through, some turmoil to get to where we're going, Chip. But it's amazing, and that, again, SEC v. Ripple case, my point with that was, John Deaton, Jeremy Hogan, James Filan. We've seen some amazing attorneys that have really stepped up to help all of us, educate and understand the dynamics of what's happening here. And it's made everybody better as a result.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.